Akhetaten's Gates, Chapter 21. We had become quite the regal couple, though the quote-unquote common folk roots were quite prevalent at times. Akhenaten and I sat in our heavily cushioned thrones. Today, we were conducting business. Our business. T remained in the background, choosing not to interfere at all, letting her son try and shine on his own. She wasn't even taking on her proud role as grandmother today either. Despite our important agenda, Meridaten seemed quite comfortable at play, ignoring courtiers, subjects, and taking no interest in finding Akhetaten with which to share in her game as she chased mercilessly after I, beating on him furiously whenever she came close enough. Of course, Grandma T was quite happy to do little more than laugh at his suffering. Today, Akhetaten was examining samples of the new art style. The event was only semi-formal, so he forewent the crook and flail, and stuck with a simple Nemes crown. As for me, unlike T on this day, I forewent a wet nurse, choosing to keep my baby close to me as she napped quietly. It was obvious that among the great talent, he certainly had some favorites. And there was one thing to be said about the best of artisans. They were eccentric. Some things never change. One of the most animated of the artisans was a man called Tutmose. The moment he came in, he slid like a rock star across the floor on his knees and prostrated before us, much to our surprise. What sort of display was that? "Oh, grand Pharaoh Akhenaten! It is such an honor to be before your very divine presence. I hope that my services will please you immensely." I hope so too, he replied, giving me a concerned look. "And many blessings to her mighty majesty. May your offspring grow grand and radiant as she." "Well, he certainly has some positive words," I remarked. "Is he for real?" "I think he is," he stated back. "Put me to any challenge," Tutmose shouted. "My hands are yours to command. Let them be your tools. Look upon these things that I have done. Let me capture his and her mighty majesty in grand eternity." "I like his enthusiasm," Akhenaten said quietly. "He kind of scares me." "Well, what do you think?" "He's scary. I just said that." "Do you think he has talent?" Akhenaten. Akhenaten." He cleared his throat, looking Tutmose over and the samples that he had brought. "What did you say your name was?" "I am Tutmose, O grand and wise Pharaoh. I am at your service." "I got that. Tutmose. My queen and I, we think you have quite a bit of talent and a very abundant supply of enthusiasm. This pleases us greatly." "Oh, how honorable! I cannot tell you how pleased I—" Yeah. Look, you're going. Your Majesty, you're going to Akhetaten. I want you there to work as one of the artisans." "Do you mean it? I've pleased Pharaoh that much?" "Quite." Oh boy, was Akhenaten getting exhausted from this one man. "Now, be swift to prepare. You will leave shortly to establish your greatness at my doorstep." Tutmose shot up, rushing out with a cheer, tripping and falling on his face about twice before he finally made it out of our sights. Akhenaten wiped his face and glanced at me. "Don't do that," I warned quietly. "You'll smear the makeup." "That was far too much energy," he sighed. "I agree, but someone like that isn't so bad. In small doses, no." He cleared his throat again, looking over the highly confused group of artisans remaining. "All of you are very creative people, and I am pleased. I now wish to place upon you a grand challenge." "We would expect nothing less, mighty Pharaoh," one of the artisans stated loudly and boldly. Akhenaten couldn't help but chuckle. "Forget the old method of idealized art. Let's face it, it is only a lie. Let's celebrate the true beauty of the real world. Portray to me what you see and what is real. Do not lie. There is no talent in making everyone look the same. When you pass people on the street, do they not all look different and unique? Can you not recognize them in a crowd? Do so in the way you portray them. What do you see when you see me? Show me what you see. Your Majesty, that is rather risky, one man spoke up. I mean, it's honorable, but at the same time, it opens an artist to harm from an angry client. What if we show you what we see and you do not like what it is that we see? Can you accept to see the flaws common to the human being? Why wouldn't I like what I see? Well, every artist glanced from one to another. No one had the guts, did they? But when they could not answer, they cringed in fear, expecting the wrath of a king to fall upon them. They did not want to underestimate the royal temper. But Akhetaten, though growing slightly offended, recovered quickly and smiled kindly towards them. He had a charm in that smile that just lured people into his clutches. Ugh, yum. A traditional image will do me no justice. I should be grateful for me. Aten has made me as it saw fit. There is a reason I am so unique. I wish to create an image for Aten to see long through and after my reign, so it can always remember the beauty it has made. I cannot have shame in what Aten feels is best. Aten feels I am beautiful. Aten feels my beloved wife is beautiful. Aten feels my children are beautiful. Let the world's eyes fall upon them and take awe in reality. Let them see me. Well said, Pharaoh, one man shouted. A grand and joyous challenge. Tutmose will do it, another announced, getting a round of laughter. Excellent. I'm glad you are all open to the idea, Akhetaten laughed. I'm very pleased. Be off to work, all of you. Prepare to make a place for yourself in Akhetaten, and feel Aten's hands reaching down to place blessings upon you. Hurry! A round of cheers rose from the crowd as they began to parade from the throne room and eventually leak into the courtyard towards their homes to make their country's ruler proud. I have to admit, you have quite a sex appeal when you act all kingly, I teased. I feel sexy. Oh, don't get carried away, I warned with a chuckle. You're sexy. Akhetaten, we're still in public, I scolded. Well, they'll just pretend they don't see anything. I have a baby in my hands, I reminded him. He opened his mouth to make another excuse before I gave him the look. Akhetaten, no. Stop. I wouldn't do that, he sighed. I'm just being silly. You wouldn't object to it if I agreed. Well, I am a man, Nefertiti. I stood up. I'm going away now, Akhetaten. Where are you going? I'm going away. You're too much. I'll be lonely, he insisted, chasing after me. Then you'll have to work harder for my company, won't you? I teased, swaying my hips as I turned a corner, knowing he would follow like a desperate little puppy. Ah, what power, and how good it felt to have the King of Egypt wrapped around my little finger. Even from here, I could hear the wailing echoing down the hall. Even with the distance, it made it difficult to sleep. Nefertiti, wake up, Akhetaten said groggily, turning over, stealing the sheet, and trying to nestle back to sleep. Eat shit, was my very rude reply as I grabbed the sheet and yanked it back, turning him roughly onto his back. That came as a surprise to him. You might want to tend to Akhetaten, since you are opting to not use a wet nurse. Hurry, and get back here so we can get some sleep. I sat up and looked down at him beside me. Bullshit! Why don't you get up and do something? Daddy! I carried that child for 9 months and went through a painful birth. All you did was plant the seed and catch her when she came out. Why don't you take part in rearing her, and do something for her benefit besides telling her how cute she is? Why do you feel the need to be so nasty to me? He asked as he sat up and wiped his eyes. Why don't you just order a wet nurse to tend to her? Then we both can get back to sleep. And let some strange woman pretend to be Mommy? They are my children. If I didn't want to play the part of mother, I would never have wanted to have them. But likewise, you should want to play the role of father. He yawned, flung the sheets off, and got out of bed. I had to blink in surprise as he tied on a simple kilt. Okay. Where are you going? To do like you told me, he replied. I'm going to make sure she's all right and calm her down. If you won't do it, and you won't call a wet nurse to do it, then I'll do it. I was actually quite surprised. A pharaoh, king of Egypt, caring for a baby? That was something I'm sure nobody could fathom. But that's what he was aiming to do. And the respectable wife and mother that I was fell back to sleep to leave him to it. Mommy! Mommy! Come look! I heard Akhetaten calling. I groaned and opened my eyes to see her bouncing by the bedside. How long was I asleep? What time was it? No clocks here, but it was still dark outside, so it obviously wasn't morning yet. What is it you want me to look at, Akhetaten? I asked in a groggy voice. Daddy, she giggled. Come look at Daddy! I turned over, noticing Akhetaten was not in the bed. He hadn't come back yet? Maybe I'd only been asleep a few minutes then. He wouldn't pass up sleeping in his own bed, would he? But then again, if it was later, perhaps he was on the roof, waiting for the sunrise as he normally did. Is he on the roof? No, she giggled, shaking her head dramatically, making her youth locks smack against her cheeks from the force. She grabbed onto my hand and pulled, demanding me out of bed. Out I came, dressed in a very thin, virtually non-existent nightdress. I put another robe of sorts to cover it, a heavier dress. I wasn't about to go prancing about naked, even if no one would be awake. I had no choice but to let Akhetaten lead me along as I yawned. Surely, what could she be showing me? What sort of antics would Akhetaten be up to this early? In the room she shared with her sister, I could hear Akhetaten fussing. She would want to be fed, most likely. Akhetaten was no use in that area, of course. Once I finally had sight of her, I stopped, gasped, and then covered my mouth to stifle my giggles. Oh my! Beside the cradle that engulfed the baby, on the floor sat Akhetaten. He was propped on a stool, fast asleep. The most obvious explanation had to be that he had spent quite some time trying to appease Akhetaten, until he himself grew exhausted and fell asleep. I wish I had a camera. But alas, that was impossible. I could not hope for such a modern device when the primitive camera obscura had not even been invented. That would not happen for about 2,000 years, give or take. I'm no official archaeologist, but it would be fine like this. Something so sweet. I could remember this for a lifetime. I was resting on my side on the king's bed. I waited for him to return from bathing. By the time he did so, I was half dozing, keeping my mind occupied to entertain myself in his absence. He leaned over me, kissed my cheek, and whispered in my ear, I love you. Akhetaten, no. It's too soon, I whimpered, rolling over to hold him back. He let out a sigh and lay beside me on his back. I know. But it doesn't change the way I feel about you. He paused briefly before sitting up again. I swear, Nefertiti, you'll love Akhetaten when it's finished. I'm sure it will be radiant, I replied. That left us, however, with a rather awkward silence. I then cleared my throat. Akhetaten isn't getting along really well with I, is she? I? You would call your father by name? He asked. I just don't feel that familiar bond, Akhetaten. The last time I saw the man, I was 5 years old. I'm afraid he's become a stranger to me. I feel more at ease to call him by name. Oh, he replied. As for Akhetaten, I don't think she likes much of anybody, except my mother, Akhetaten, Tepi, and us, of course. She's my mother's mini-twin. I went silent again, falling into a deep thought, contemplating. Nefertiti, is this really a good idea? He glanced at me, a little surprised and perhaps even a little hurt. Don't you believe in me, Nefertiti? I do, but it's not me I'm thinking of. The people may not like it so much. And what voice do they have against Pharaoh? What you are suggesting is to bring great devotion to Aten. For me, that is no problem at all. I've seen it, and I've heard it. I believe it. But these are people that are following centuries of tradition. I don't think they are as open to converting as easily as I am. Their faith is in pure faith, not in the fact that they have seen Amun or Aten in the way that we have. And it's not even just that. People may not like it at all and try to hurt you. And if they cannot hurt you, they may try to hurt me, or the girls, or T, or anybody important to you in retaliation. And for a polytheistic people, a monotheistic ideal will displease the priests and priestesses of not just Amun, but of the other cults as well. I looked at him warily. I could tell he must have been running his tongue over his teeth, with the way that his jaw was moving. But his mouth was closed. I almost wondered if I had angered him. I've actually been thinking of that, he finally said. And? He gave me a wicked chuckle. It was unnerving, but at least he was smiling again. The people of Egypt want what everybody wants. They want money, riches, and prosperity. Money follows economy, and economy follows the king. To follow my ideals, and me, would prove to be a great financial benefit to all who do so. As for the priests of Amun, etc., I will not allow them to hold any power over me or over the people of Egypt. Pharaoh, not some imaginary Superman, rules Egypt. Aten speaks to me, and I have no need of some translator. He leaned over and kissed my cheek. I fear no attacks. I have a grand army that cannot afford to be without the grand pay that I offer. And Akhetaten is a natural fortress, as well as a fantastic mega-temple. Everything will be fine. There is nobody but myself that is able to rule Egypt right now. Aten needs its own city, and it will take care of us. He watched me as I closed my eyes a moment and sighed. He was silent a long time before frowning. If you want me to end it that badly, Nefertiti, please tell me. Would it matter if I did? I don't know, he frowned. I want you to be happy. But I want to be happy too. This place, I believe Aten chose it. Aten is my God, and I will worship it devoutly. But you are my wife, and you are whom I lay beside nightly. You are the person I touch day in and day out. If this will make things bad between us, I would stop. Akhetaten, you are king, and I want you to be strong and happy. If you back out now, after coming this far, you will look foolish. You have made many wonderful strides. I have faith in you. The problem is just me. I'm afraid. And I'm afraid for this family. And for you. I'm doing the worrying that contrasts with your confidence. There is nothing to fear, he assured, with an intimidating amount of confidence. I swear it. Between my architects and myself, Akhetaten will be a religious and military center that will go down in history. Nefertiti, I swear it.